What do you mean by performance appraisal? Performance appraisal is evaluating an individual performance regularly. You need to find out the error, then you need to give suggestion or feedback for the employee. It helps to build a good relationship between the manager and employee. On the basis of monetary benefits, they evaluate the individual performance under human resource cost accounting method. Hello everyone, a warm welcome to one and all to the first session on Unit 4 Human Resource Management. I am Meghana from the Department of Commerce, lecturing in Vidhyaashram First Grade College, the Temple of Excellence. In today's session, let us start with the Unit 4 Performance Appraisal, Promotion and Transfer. So in today's session, let us discuss with the Performance Appraisal. Then, objectives of Performance Appraisal, process of Performance Appraisal, methods of performance appraisal. So let us start with the first topic, that is performance appraisal. So what do you mean by performance appraisal? Performance appraisal is evaluating an individual performance regularly. So why organization has to analyze or evaluate the individual performance? So what is the benefit? What is the necessary to evaluate? So in order to increase the efficiency, in order to evaluate, in order to know the efficiency of an individual, and in order to give promotion or in order to benefit, in order to know the strength and weakness of an individual, organization has to evaluate the performance, as well as in order to motivate, in order to know the requirements for the training and development, we need to evaluate the performance. So it is upward. It helps the individual for the upward promotion. So based on the individual performance, we can take the necessary decision or we can give benefits for the individual, so that it helps the organization as well as the individual. So you can get the maximum result or maximum utilization of available individual or individual strength. So that you need to evaluate the performance regularly. Performance appraisal is a systematic evaluation. So it's a systematic evaluation of individual performance to understand the ability of a person, ability of an individual for the further growth and development. Based on their skills and knowledge, based on their ability, we can further take the decision, further development and improvement. So it helps them to increase or it contributes for the individual growth and development. The term performance appraisal refers to the regular review of an individual's job performance, regular review of an employee's job performance and overall contribution to the company. So regular performance of an individual and contribution for the organization. So what is the contribution as an individual? So for all this, we need to evaluate the individual performance. So what are the objectives of performance appraisal? First one is, this is an essential first step upward promoting an employee. For the performance, first you need to evaluate their strength and their ability. Based on that ability, we are going to promote. So this is the first step for the upward promotion. So after evaluating the individual performance, we decide the promotion. We decide about the promotion for an individual. So it is the first step based on the subjective and objective factor. So individual performance and their efficiency and competency. Based on the performance and competence level of an individual, we take a decision about the promotion. So that it helps the organization to take decision about promotion. Next one, to identify the training and development needs. So based on individual performance, we get to know the ability and strength of the individual, so that it clearly defines the requirements for training and development. If individual performing well in the organization, it requires less training. So based on the individual performance, we can decide about the training in order to increase their skills and knowledge. To provide confirmation to those employees who were recently hired and or on their probation period. That means for the new employee, for the new recruit, for the new employee, it is necessary to evaluate their performance and to give feedback on their performance so that they can continue with the same procedure or they can improve their abilities and skill and their performance. So that for the new employee, it is essential to evaluate their performance and to give feedback on their performance appraisal. Moving further, to take a concrete decision, what should be the percentage of hike in salary of an employee based on the work done by them. So, in order to find out the percentage of hike for an individual salary based on the performance, we are going to increase the salary. So, based on productivity, based on the contribution for the organization and based on their ability and strength, we decide about the increase or hike in salary. So, in order to find out the percentage of hike, it is necessary to evaluate the individual performance. Next one, to encourage a proper feedback system between the manager and employee. Simply, you cannot give feedback or suggest something for the individual without evaluating their performance. You cannot give feedback. So that you need to analyze the individual performance first. Then based on their evaluation, you need to rectify the error. You need to find out the error. Then you need to give suggestion or feedback for the employee. It helps to build a good relationship between the manager and employee. Next one, to help employees understand where they stand in current year and what is the scope of improvement. So that under performance appraisal, we are going to evaluate the individual performance and compare with the previous year or previous appraisal, performance appraisal, so that it clearly defines where they stand so that they make a decision. Individual can analyze their ability and their strength and requirement for the improvement. So individual can self-analyze their performance. So it helps to analyze an individual performance for the individual. Moving further, what are the process of performance appraisal? How you are going to evaluate or how you are going to appraise the individual performance? What is the procedure? So it's systematic process of evaluating the performance, right? So what are the systematic process? You need to follow the step-by-step procedure. So what are those procedure? So let us discuss one by one. So under that, first one is establishing performance standard. Before evaluating the performance, first you need to set the standard. For example, for the student, before conducting an exam, you need to decide what is the maximum standard or maximum marks as well as the minimum marks to get passed. So first you need to fix the standard. In a similar way, for the organization, you need to fix the standard. For example, in the production department, you need to fix maximum productivity or maximum output. Maximum product should be produced in one particular year or in particular month. So first you need to decide the standard, fix the standard for the performance appraisal. So you can't fix higher performance or higher standard or too lower standard. It is difficult for the employees to follow. So it is difficult for the employees to achieve higher standard. So all the ability of individuals is differs. So that you need to keep in mind and fix the standard. It should be acceptable and it should be easy to accept. So first you need to set the standard for performance appraisal. So after establishing a performance standard, you need to communicating the standards. You need to communicate the standard or information about the standard for your employee. That means you need to give information about the standard fixed for the evaluation. So in this example, teachers or students should be get the information about the maximum marks as well as the minimum marks in order to get passed and in order to get out or in order to get distinction first class and second class. So it should be clearly defined so that students can prepare themselves based on their requirements. So if you want to score distinction, so they can prepare based on the standard. So now you know the standard, so that based on the standard you will get prepared yourself in order to score or in order to achieve your objective. So that in a similar way in the organization, after establishing a standard, you need to communicate with the employees about the standard for performance appraisal. So after communicating, you need to measure the actual performance. So after communicating the standards, you need to measure, you need to evaluate the individual standards. So how we are going to conduct the exam and evaluate the papers and find out the results, or we come up with the results. So that is measuring the individual performance after the fixed period. After the fixed period like 1 month, 6 months, 3 months or 1 year. So based on the company, you can decide the performance, or you can decide the period for performance appraisal. So based on your requirement, you can conduct the performance appraisal. So that after the fixed period, regularly you're going to evaluate the performance based on the fixed standards. So after measuring the actual performance, you need to compare the actual performance with the desired performance. So after find out the result, now we can compare with the actual result as well as the fixed standards. So now compare the actual as well as the standards. Then you need to discuss the result. So after find out the result, or after comparing the actual as well as standard, you need to communicate the result with the individual. So that you need to give feedback for the individual based on the performance appraisal, based on the evaluation. So you need to give feedback like improvement. If individual requires improve in their performance, you need to give suggestion for that. You need to rectify their errors and mistakes. And if they have performed well, you need to appreciate their performance, and you need to consider that performance for the hike in their salary, or for promotion, or for various benefits. So these are the process of performance appraisal. So you need to follow all the procedures, step-by-step procedure, in order to evaluate the individual performance. So this is all about the process of performance appraisal. Moving further, what all are the methods of performance appraisal? How we can find out, or how we can evaluate the performance. So there are various methods in order to evaluate the individual performance. So what all are those methods? So let us discuss those methods one by one. So first one is management by objective. Under management by objective method, superior or the organization and employees, they sit together or they discuss while setting the standards. So they consider opinion from the employee in order to fix the standard. They communicate, they discuss with each other in order to fix the standard, that is in order to fix objective or mission of the in order to fix the objectives for the organization. So both the superior as well as the employee discuss and they come up with the acceptable standard to achieve. So that they discuss the procedure and the evaluation method. Then they will perform their duties and then evaluate their performance. So based on the evaluation, you're going to give feedback for the employees. Here, organization is going to involve employees in order to make decision, that is in order to fix the standard for performance appraisal, as well as in order to fix or in order to find out the objective. So under this method, manager has to ready with more than 10 to 15 objective based on their skills and requirements. You're going to assign the task for the individual. For example, for the production department, objective is different. For the marketing department, objectives are different. So that you need to ready with the 10 or 15 objective, so that based on their ability and based on their skills, you can assign the task and you can discuss with the procedure and evaluate the performance and give the feedback based on their performance. So this is all about management by objective. So they involve employee for setting the objective and for fixing the standards for their evaluation. That is management by objective. Next one is 360-degree feedback. So 360-degree feedback, the name only says they are going to get feedback or they are going to give feedback from all the direction. Like they consider all the factors in order to give feedback and in order to evaluate the individual. First one, they give self-evaluation. That means individual has to analyze their performance and rate their performance and their duties and their outcomes. So individual, through the self-analysis, you need to rate your performance based on the analysis. First thing, they allow individual to evaluate themselves. Next, they take opinion from their manager or superior or team leaders. So they collect opinion from the team leader about their work. So about their contribution in the group work as well as about their contribution for the organization. So they consider manager, or they take opinion from the manager in order to give feedback or in order to evaluate the individual performance. Next, they collect the opinions from the peer members, that is group members, their coordination. So as an individual, how he is going to perform in the group, what is the contribution, how is the relationship between employees with the co-workers. So they collect the opinion from their peer members or group members in order to judge individual. Then they collect, or employees also eligible to give opinion about their manager or about their leader. So in order to evaluate like leader or manager, they take opinion from their subordinate. So how cooperative as an individual, as a leader, how cooperative he is. Then what is the contribution, whether they give effective information, whether he guides effectively or not. So all this they will collect the opinion from the subordinates. Next one, they collect opinion from clients or customers. So they collect opinions and feedback from all the aspects. Then based on the collected information, they are going to evaluate the individual performance. So that is 360-degree feedback. So next one is assessment center method. So under assessment center method, organization is going to give responsibility, or organization is going to assign this duty for the external source. So from the external assessment center, we are going to evaluate individual or team. They visit and they evaluate the individual performance from external source. So they can give unbiased opinion about the individual performance. So this is all about assessment center method. From the external source, we are going to evaluate the individual performance so that no favorism, and they will give the effective results or effective result for the performance appraisal. Next one is behavioral anchored rating scale, bars. Behavioral anchored rating scales. Anchored rating scales. These bars bring out both the quantitative and qualitative benefits in this performance appraisal process. So under this bar method, you are going to evaluate individual performance based on the specific behavioral example connected with the anchored, so which are related to numerical rating. So based on the numerical rating or based on the specific behavioral example, individual needs to perform or individual needs to fulfill those objectives. So it is classified into different level. Based on the different level, it is numerically rated. So that based on the numerically rated, you are going to evaluate individual performance. So that is behaviorally anchored rating standards or anchored rating scale. Next one is psychological appraisal. Under psychological appraisal, organization is going to evaluate individual performance. Organization is going to evaluate individual performance for the future. They try to predict the future behavior or future contribution for the organization rather than past experience or past contribution. So they try to find out the individual potential, individual hidden potential in order to utilize those potentials for the contribution. For example, they try to find out the individual interpersonal skill, individual cognitive skill, individual emotional balance, then individual leadership skill and personality trait. So all this will contribute for the future benefits. So rather than comparing or rather than evaluating the past experience or past performance, they try to find out the hidden potential which they can use for the future, or through this they can predict the future performance of an individual. So that is psychological appraisal. Last one is a human resource cost accounting method. Human resource cost accounting method. Under this method, they are going to evaluate the individual performance based on the benefit or the contribution from an employee to the organization. They compare the retention cost by the organization, the retention cost for the individual as well as the contribution, monetary contribution from the individual, so that they compare both the retention cost as well as the contribution. Then they rate or they evaluate the individual performance. So their final outcome or output or the contribution for the organization, monetary benefit for the organization. So they consider cost is an important factor. On the basis of monetary benefits, they evaluate the individual performance under human resource cost accounting method. So this is all about the methods of performance appraisal. So through these 6 methods, we can evaluate the individual performance. So the choice of this method for evaluating the individual performance, organization can choose or organization can choose any of this method based on their requirement and based on their rules and regulation. So this is all about methods of performance appraisal. Moving further, last topic under performance appraisal is advantages of performance appraisal. So what are the benefits after evaluating the individual performance? First one is performance improvement. So after evaluating the individual performance, we give feedback for the individual. So it helps the individual to improve their performance. Next one, development of employees. So it increase the skills and it helps them to develop individual skills. So it helps the individual to mold their skills and it contribute for the individual development. Next one, corrective action. So if the organization evaluate regularly, they can correct or they can take the corrective measure for the mistakes. So the final outcome, the mistakes in the final or the percentage of mistake in the final outcome is less, or we can reduce the mistakes in the final results. So it helps to take the corrective decision. Next one, career planning. It helps the individual to improve his skills and knowledge. It helps them for the career planning. Next one, promotion. So initially, in the beginning only, I've told you about this promotion. So it is a first step for the upward promotion. So performance appraisal is a first step for upward promotion. It helps for the decision about the promotion. So it helps the organization to take decision about individual promotion. Next one, motivation. Through this performance appraisal, you can motivate the individual, you can appraise the individual performance, you can give feedback and you can appreciate the individual effective work, so that it acts as a motivational factor for the individual as well as for the others in order to get appraisal from the top management, so that they work effectively and they contribute for the organization, they improve their skills and knowledge, they contribute for the organization. So it acts as a motivation for the individual in the organization. Last one, other benefits. So through this performance appraisal, employee can get monetary as well as the non-monetary benefits for the individual, as well as the organization also get benefits out of this performance appraisal. They can find out the hidden potentials of an individual so that they can utilize those potentials in order to get a maximum, or in order to individual potential at a maximum level. So these all are the advantages of performance appraisal. So this is all about today's session, and this is all about performance appraisal. In the coming up session, let us discuss with some more topic. Until then, keep watching. Thank you.